Візьму мікрофон, тому що я люблю говорити з людьми. По-перше, я хочу сказати, чекайте, англійська?
Трошки і трошки.
50-50 going English, українська мова. Вітаю Пітсбург! Перший раз в житті я кажу це. Вітаю Пітсбург! Дуже дякую. Thank you very much for nominating me, пане Юрій. Дуже дякую.
Прошу.
Мені дуже приємно.
Actually, you were nominated by Dr. Natalia Kuikas. She, the first connection, she and my wife went to Varna to hear the Oksana Muzyczka concert. She's the one nominated.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. First time in Pittsburgh. But I hope I will come back together with my volunteers. Today we have volunteers from Philadelphia, from New York, from New Jersey, from Connecticut, from Chicago, coming over here to receive this award together with me, because without these people, I'm nothing. You know, the team is the most important thing. And also, I want to thank to our soldiers, the people who we raised for, get the idea and pretty much get on we got their back. So whoever needs our help, wounded guys, the most complicated cases, we do bring to United States. And we do help a lot in Ukraine. So what we do, we open up a rehabilitation center, Next Step Ukraine. It's kind of my pride. It was my dream that came true in the city where I was born, which is Irpin, Kiev district. That's where I came from to United States, and I achieved my dream back in Irpin. I opened up Next Step Ukraine. It's a sister rehabilitation center from Next Step in Los Angeles, where we used to bring paralyzed Ukrainian soldiers for about 3 years. And then we got this idea, why would we not open back home? We got the space, we got equipment. No, everybody told me like, oh, don't even think, no, Ukraine would never allow you to bring this kind of equipment, like high-end equipment for rehabilitation back in Ukraine. So we went really, really hard, and we made this happen 3 years ago. We opened up in Irpin, and since then, 200 severely wounded Ukrainian servicemen received much needed medical care and keep receiving, because as you know, paralyzed people need access to such rehabilitation through entire life. So we have this access thanks to every Ukrainian American here in the United States. We give this opportunity to our Ukrainian servicemen, receive most important rehabilitation back at home. We don't have to drag them all the way across of the ocean to Los Angeles from Ukraine. Now we have this rehabilitation back home. We train our personnel. We have the most advanced equipment that none of the rehabilitation centers had in Ukraine prior us delivering it, purchasing here and deliver it. So Leonid is one of our wounded soldiers. He's number 48 in 6 years of Revived Soldiers Ukraine existing. I established it in November 2015. So we actually, in this month, we're celebrating I wouldn't call it celebrating. I wouldn't call it celebrating. It's not celebration. I would call it, help me. Yes, 6 years this month. And that was really hard, 6 years of my life as a volunteer. I'm volunteering about 50-60 hours a week. This has become my life. My kids driving with me from concert to concert. They're driving with me to Ukraine. My husband being on the board as well. And we work to make this guy's life easier. We work to make this guy's life more accessible, better in some way, less painful. That's what our mission. So Revived Soldiers Ukraine established to help Ukrainian wounded soldiers get better. And Leonid is one of the cases that was for 5 months rehabilitated back in Irpin. We got him from a bed to walking position where he traveled by himself. That was my personal accomplishment. I was really proud. Each step the soldier made, it's my personal accomplishment as well as accomplishment of all our volunteers. We were about 40 in the United States, and Leonid was one of the most complicated cases, as he got polytrauma after a mine explosion in May 2020, which was a little over a year ago. He was in coma for a month. Then he went through like surgery, rehab, and we got him for 5 months. Now for 2 months, he's rehabilitating here in Florida, Jacksonville, at the hospital called Brooks Rehabilitation Center. And that's where we're getting also trained. Our rehabilitation people from Next Step Ukraine come to Brooks Hospital to be trained and bring this very important knowledge back to Ukraine. As you know, before the war, Russian-Ukrainian war, we did not have rehabilitation at all. So Revived Soldiers Ukraine, one of the first organizations who brought Americanized rehab back in Ukraine. I'm very proud of it. That wasn't easy. I'm every day with my team on the phone. I had to unfortunately run the whole process and make it Americanized back in home. And I don't want to see any kind of hospital environment. I always tell people, you gotta be happy. I give you this big speaker, you have to listen to music, you have to play video games and have soldiers to rehabilitate through playing video games. And that's my approach, that's who I am. I was an athlete for many years. I ran for Ukrainian national team, World Championship, European Championship, and for me, not understand that person cannot get up from a wheelchair is tough. And that's the challenge. If the person cannot get up from a wheelchair and walk, I just couldn't understand why, how. And everybody asking, do you have paralyzed people in your family? No, I don't. But that was the challenge, to see people, to see soldiers, young guys, we're talking about young people who went to defend my country back in east of Ukraine, not getting up. That's why Next Step Ukraine have existence today, and that's why I work every day to make this guy's life easier and painless. I don't know how it works. No, it works. I guess batteries recharge itself. Yeah, I want really invite Leonid. I don't know how many people speak Ukrainian here, but I want him to say several words from who he is. He is actually from occupied territory, Luhansk. So he's home. He left his home to defend Ukraine. As a matter of fact, he was shooting his home because the snipers were, pro-Russian snipers were sitting in his house and shooting Ukrainian side. So entire family left, and I want him to carry Ukrainian flag. No. Flag. It is flag. Okay. Ukrainian flag back into his home, Luhansk. Льонечка. Я тебе чекаю.
Everyone